Want to thank y'all for letting me come in today. Those on YouTube, as you can see, our pastor is not here today. He's unfortunately had to do something through his job. So they asked me if I could preach today. And I'm going to tell you right now, this has been a hard week because my wife has been home all week. So honeydews and honey, can you help me with this? And so, and Friday was her birthday, and last Wednesday was our anniversary. So praise God for that. Yeah. And I'm going to tell y'all something. I've had this message for a while now. Last week, and I'm not putting it on me, I didn't study. Yesterday, I got up with the idea, I'm going to study this message. I'm going to get everything down. Things came up. So, it's going to be God today. Yeah, y'all going to get, anything I said is what God has given me. So, starting off, like I said, I want to thank y'all for being here. I want to thank you two people for being here. I want to speak a blessing on each and every one of you because God blesses us with everything. Now, in saying that, I want y'all to use your imagination today. And this is going to be I don't want anybody to be offended, but I want you to use your imagination that you're a horse. Now, you can be in your imagination, you can be a beautiful black stallion. You can be a Arabian horse with long, beautiful, flowing mane and all that kind of stuff. But you're a horse. God is either the cowboy or he's the destination. One of the two. So if y'all turn over in Psalms 32:6, 32, and it's going to be verse 9. Psalms 32, verse 9. I'm going to give y'all time to get there. Y'all also pray for me today because I had a coughing attack in the truck. My throat started scratching, so if you hear me cough, hopefully I've taken enough mints to get it where it's not. Psalms 32, and we're going to start in verse 9. Y'all there? It says, "Be not like a horse or a mule without understanding, which must be curbed with a bit and bridle, or it will not stay near you. Many are the sowers of the wicked, but steadfast love surrounds the one who trusts in the Lord. Be good in the Lord and rejoice, O righteous, and shout for joy, all you upright in heart." I want y'all to imagine a cowboy and a horse. Now, this cowboy takes the reins, and every day there's a beautiful field in front of him. And every day he takes the reins and he walks in front of that horse for 2 miles. And then he turns around and he walks 2 miles back. Now, every day for 2 months, he does the same thing. He's made a path now. He's got the reins. He takes the horse for 2 miles, turns around, comes back. Now, after 2 months, he takes the horse and starts walking him, but he doesn't have the reins. He just puts the reins over the horse. What's that horse going to do? Well, he's going to follow him. He's still going to follow him because for 2 months, he has been on the path. He knows the cowboy is going to lead him to the destination. But how many of us have ever, God has given us a vision or God has given us a direction to go. And we go that direction until an obstacle. And we vary from the destination. And because there was an obstacle. So say the cowboy's got the horse is following him. He doesn't have the reins, but the horse knows that this is what he's supposed to do. They come up, and I don't know if anybody has ever been around quail before. Quail are birds that love eating them, but whenever they fly, you may walk right past them before they fly. So the cowboy's walking, and all of a sudden the quail fly up. What's that horse going to do? He's going to stray because once he realizes the reins are no longer in the cowboy's hands, he's going to go a different direction. Have y'all ever seen race horses and they put them on what I always called a horse walker? Looks like a Ferris wheel type thing, but they hook it up to the horse and it goes around and around. Well, what's that horse do? That horse will follow it. It just keeps on following it. You know, after a while, they can unhook that horse from that, and that as long as that thing's going around, that horse is going to follow it because he's on the path. But you know what happens once he realizes that he's not hooked up to it anymore? He strays. Now, it's going to take a long time for that to happen, but once it happens, they stray. Moses, and we're going to talk about Moses and we're going to talk about Jonah today. Moses was given a command to free the Israelites. So let's just kind of go over, we're not going to turn to, let's kind of go over what Moses did. Moses was given a word to free the Israelites. Moses, in this case, is the cowboy. God is the destination. But God told Moses to free his people. And as we know, there was a conflict between him and the Pharaoh. And finally the Pharaoh gave up after plagues and locusts and the the river becoming blood. Finally, and the loss of Pharaoh's son, Pharaoh said, take them. They're yours. So Moses starts leading the horses. He's leading them to the destination, the promised land. As he's going along, there was obstacles that was put in front of them. But as long as they saw that Moses was going forward, they followed. Now, was it hard? Yeah. They went through deserts. I'm sure at one point, it got so hot that, people just got so tired. And then they come to the Red Sea. Here's this big obstacle. What are we going to do? We can't go around it. It's, to go around it is going to take a long time. Moses, being the cowboy, gets on top of a rock, takes a staff, and parts the Red Sea. God made the destination clear. We're going to go, Moses takes the rein, and takes them across the Red Sea. Dry land. They get to the other side, and they get to the point to where they can see Canaan. They can see the promised land. So they start rejoicing. And it talks about how Moses goes into the mountains, and God gives him the 10 Commandments, but while he's up in the mountains, the Israelites start partying. The grass is always greener on the other side of the hill, on the other side of the fence. They start partying, and they make golden idols. And they do things, they become drunken, they just become a big party. Whenever Moses comes back and sees it, what's he do? He's got the 10 Commandments in his hands, and it makes him so mad that he breaks the 10 Commandments. But in breaking the 10 Commandments, he also broke the bond between him and God and the people. God said, y'all won't cross. The elderly, the parents, the elderly will not cross. And they had to be in the wilderness for 40 years. The kids had to grow up, and all of the elders had to die before they could cross. Now I'm going to use the illustration. Across, if you come out of our house and you look across, you see a field. And there's a red barn house over there with a swimming pool. If that man came to me and said, I'm going to give you that house and land and the swimming pool, but you're not going to get it until after you die. Your kids will get it, but you won't. Every day I come out and I see it. Every day. They spend 40 days in the wilderness. Every day, though, they saw the promised land. They could see the promised land, but they couldn't cross it. They couldn't cross to the promised land because of their sins. God gave them the cowboy Moses to lead them. They could see the destination, but because of their sin, because they varied from the destination of what they should be doing, they ended up spending 40 years in the wilderness. In Jonah, we all heard the story about Jonah. God told Jonah to go to Nineveh. Now, in this situation, God's the cowboy and the destination. How in the world did I end up in Romans? God told Jonah to go to Nineveh. I'm sorry, guys. I got to find it again. Because someone tell me where Jonah is. What door it is. Sorry, guys. Oh, I know where it's at. I've got to get to it in mind. Yeah. Oh, no, I got it. Jonah, God told Jonah to go to Nineveh. And my pages don't want to play. Chapter 1. And we'll just read it real quick. It said, Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and call against it. For their evil has come up before me. But Jonah rose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare and went down into it to go to them in Tarshish, away from the presence of the Lord. But God hurled a great wind upon the sea, and there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship threatened to break up. Then the mariners were afraid, and each cried out to the God, and they hurled the cargo that was in the ship unto the sea to lighten it for them. But Jonah had gone down into the inner part of the ship and laid down and was fast asleep. So the captain came and said to him, What do you mean, you sleeper? Arise, call out your God. Perhaps the God will give a thought to us that we may not perish. And they said to one another, Come, let us cast lots, that we might know who among the evil has come upon us. So they cast lots, and the lots fell on Jonah. Then they said to him, Tell us whose account this evil has come upon us. What is your occupation? From there on, we talk about Jonah's thrown off the ship. And he's thrown into the water. And it talks about a great fish swallowed him. Now, I think about a great fish, and probably the only fish that could swallow me would be a blue whale or whatever, these giant whales. You see their big wheels, they're big. And even then, I don't know if he could swallow me. I don't know if he could get all this into him. But God gave Jonah direction. But God didn't have the reins. Jonah, God told him where to go, but Jonah went a different direction. Why? Because he didn't have, God gave him free rein. God said, follow. God went to Nineveh. Jonah was wanting to go to Tarshish. So things happen. Just like with a horse. You give a horse free reins, what happens? He goes off. And once he gets so used to being away and having the freedom, you know what is hard? It's hard to catch him. It's hard to get him back. Once you get him back, you can lead him. God can lead us again. But our wickedness and our sinful nature, our wickedness and sinful nature, it's easier to follow the world in a lot of times. The grass is always greener on the other side. Y'all know that I've gotten into chickens. We've got around our chicken pen, our chicken run, is electric fence. Now, what's so funny about those chickens? Fried chickens. What's so funny about those chickens is before I had the electricity going through it, they would poke their head through it and eat the grass on the other side, having the same grass in the run they had, but they would stick their head through the other side because the grass, I guess, was greener on the other side. But you know what happened once the electricity got turned on? They stuck their head through there, but there was a consequence to that grass that was on the other side. Well, you know now what happens? They don't stick their head. The grass isn't quite as green on the other side as they thought it was. And that's funny, but it's a very good point. You know, my chickens have a direction. They've got a big area that they can roam. But there's boundaries to that roaming. And if they get beyond that, or if they try to go beyond that boundaries, there's a consequence. And we've all gone through the consequence. We've all followed God. We've all had a vision that God wanted for us to do in our life or something. And we followed. Oh, where's God at? You know, then we make it to that boundary. We make it to an electric fence. And everything goes wrong. But what happens? Once you hit that boundary and you turn from that boundary and you see the direction that you need to be going, we go back in God's direction. But so many times we get to the boundary and we're stubborn-headed and we keep on trying to get the grass on the other side. We keep on pecking. We keep on, you know, how many times have you gone and seen a green field, you see a cow or a horse, and their head is through the fence, eating the grass on the other side. But you put electric fence across that same fence. And you know what? That grass isn't so green. This is green grass on my side. It's a lot, just tastes as good as that green grass is on that side. But it takes that little bit of a direction changer to get us going in the right direction again. Today, the message today, what I wanted to get through is that we have a direction. God is our direction. We follow God's direction. But we have to keep our eyes on the direction, because the little obstacles start becoming bigger obstacles, and then bigger obstacles, until we can't get, the obstacles become so big that we only have one choice. That's to turn back and go the right direction. If you take a horse, and a cowboy's riding on a horse, he's got control. If he pulls right, the horse goes right. If he pulls left, the horse goes left. But you know, if he just took those reins and he just put around the saddle horn, he gave a little bit of a nudge, kick, that horse goes straight. That horse comes to a Y in the road. Which direction is the horse going to go? Well, a lot of times the horses just keep on going straight because he has no direction. There was no one to tell him to go right or to go left. The cowboy, the direction is still there. The cowboy is still there. But he didn't, the horse has no direction now, because there's no, what's the word I want to use? There's no pulling. You know, God is still there. The cowboy's still there. But the horse's focus is only what's on front of him. Without God giving us the direction, right, left. You know, we take our eyes off of the direction and we put our eyes on what we want. I'd like to have a new truck. Every time I come up, I talk about I'd love to have a new truck. You know, I see people getting these new vehicles. I see Ricky driving a relatively new truck. Charlie's got a new truck. All y'all have got newer vehicles than I do. Me and Vanessa talk about, I'd like to have this car, or I'd like to have this car. You know what? My truck still runs. Vanessa's car still runs. They still go in the direction I want them to go. They go in the direction God wants them to go. But you know what? It'd be a lot nicer if I had one that would go that direction with less gas. You know, a gas saving, something that would save gas. I looked at one on Facebook the other day that got like 28 in the city and 39 on the highway. Mine gets like 12 and 20 or 14 and 20, you know, my truck. Ricky's truck, he gets better gas mileage than I do because he's got a hybrid, what I would call a hybrid. If he stops, it's not using gas anymore. Once he goes, it starts using gas. But he gets better gas mileage than I do. Alpela gets better gas mileage than I do. Charlie gets better gas mileage than I do. There's a direction. We all have a direction. We follow God. But we get the little obstacles, the quail that jumped, the envy of people having a new vehicle, the envy of that house. I love my house, but I love that swimming pool across the way. I love the land that's sitting over there. Now the house, it's a red barn looking thing. I don't want that one. I like my house. But whenever I step on my front porch, what do I see? That's what I see. Yeah. And if that guy said, I'm going to give this to you, I'm going to give it to your kids, but they won't get it until you die. You know how hard it was for the Israelites to see the promised land? Knowing it was there, but also knowing because of their sins, they weren't allowed to go across. In ending today, where are we at in our lives? Are we letting God have the reins? Are we letting God direct us? How many times do we get out of the path? How many times every day? You know, whenever I go to sleep or not, God put me to sleep. Whenever I wake up every morning, God woke me up. There's a direction. Now, I may have to sit on the side of the bed for 5 minutes, convincing myself that I can get up. But, you know, even once I get up, you know, God has given me a direction. There's a bathroom that I've got to go to first thing in the morning. And you sit there and think, you know, well, that's funny. It's the direction God leads me. Everything I do is God led. Everything I do is God direction. You know, it's my choice whether or not I follow their direction. I take a fluid pill, which makes me go to the bathroom quite often. Now, God directs me to that bathroom, but if I sit there and say, no, I'll just wait for the next bathroom, it's not going to be good. Because I'm going to have a wet pant going down this way. You know, yeah. God gives us directions every day. Everything we do is God directed. It's our choice whether or not we follow it. That's what the message is today. Follow. Get your eyes off what the world is offering. Get your eyes off of what man offers. Get your eyes more on what God offers. God, like I said a while ago about the truck, God has given me a truck to drive, and it drives, and it does everything I want it to do. But I sure would like to have that new truck. You know, well, that's not God's direction. That's my direction. It's not God's direction. God wants me to have that Charlie's truck. Charlie's going to give me his truck. Now, that's Charlie's direction. Is Charlie going to follow God's direction, or is he going to follow my direction that I'd like to have his truck? Without the payment. So, in closing, I just want to thank y'all, people in Facebook. Again, I pray for you. I just want to speak a blessing on you. Follow God's direction. Let's get our eyes off what man offers and get it totally on what God offers. Thank y'all.